Live from New York, it's a show that is promising an excellent preview show for Game 4. An excellent show.
And a Kevin Wildes mea culpa in 22 minutes.
The guy's 21 and 31.
You know what?
Career.
That wasn't the argument. That wasn't the argument.
He was $250 million.
More than that.
21
and that wasn't
turnovers
the argument.
last year.
I'll show you.
Already looking past. Brew, your reaction.
No, he's not looking past. You heard the question. I thought his answer was fine. It's not like he was saying, oh, this is over. We got it. They were saying it. And they were presenting him a question about if you win this championship, on top of that, how great would it be to be one of the all-time great Celtics teams? So I have no problem with his answer. In fact, I think he's right on the money. Now, for the comments about you'll say we didn't play anybody, beating Dallas, especially sweeping them, beating them, period, but sweeping them, it erases all of the talk about they didn't play anybody. And I was a champion of that talk, all right? But it erases that because they beat the team that beat the team that beat the defending champions.
Okay.
And they beat the team that beat the #1 seed in the Western. Like, Dallas had a tough road.
Yes.
And they beat them, and if they're sweeping them, I mean, this is impressive. Now, the 15-2 or 16-2, should they sweep? Yeah, sure. Against better competition, it probably wouldn't have been that. But I'm not going to hold this against the Celtics at all. All right, so I think his answer was good. I will say this, though. It's the same thing I've been saying. I still won't consider them like an all-time great team until they were, as he said, to do it again.
And that's not unfair. And it's
how history is. We got two teams maybe that are one-offs that are all-time great teams. You got the 83 Sixers, which you talked about yesterday, and maybe the 72 Lakers.
Oh,
no, I wouldn't say the Blazers.
Okay.
They won 33 straight. They had Wilt Chamberlain. They had Gail Goodrich. They had Jerry West. I know you never heard of Gail Goodrich.
I like Gail Goodrich.
And they had LG.
And they had gone to several finals the previous decade, which I understand the Celtics have been close a lot, but not to that level. So first of all, yeah, I mean, Tatum's basketball idol, Kobe, famously, not in this exact spot, but a similar spot, said job's not done. That's not the route Tatum went. That's fine. I think also, though, Tatum...
Job's basically done. That would have been sick
if he said job's basically
done. It's a
but
good
what
question.
I will say is, and I think he knows, because we've only ever seen 4 teams be down 3-0 and force a Game 7. But one of them, the Celtics are intimately familiar with because it was them 11 and a half months ago against Miami, which should help them recognize guys. And I bet the Celtics feel like that if in that Game 7 Tatum didn't turn his ankle, they would have won. So I think they will be maybe a little more dialed in than most teams up 3-0 because they were on the other side of it and almost came back from it. So, but here's where I think he's right and wrong. I think it is a straw man that people are saying that if the Celtics win the championship, there is some type of asterisk on it. I haven't heard anybody say that. I haven't heard. That's why I said it's straw man. It is absolute fact that folks going into the finals, one of the reasons, if you doubted the Celtics, it was because not only the East, not only their path in the East, but the injury-riddled teams they faced. And that, to me, was not unfair. That was cogent analysis to say, yes, you earned the 1 seed, but you didn't earn the injuries to the other team's best players. You didn't earn that Giannis was going to miss the playoffs, that Jimmy Butler was going to miss the playoffs. And so there was a question there. But I don't think history looks negatively on any champion. The only one that I can think of is because LeBron's involved, people say the bubble. There are still some people, but
we take shots at the Rockets championships, to be fair.
Well, I don't. Here's the thing.
People take shots.
I don't think people take shots.
We understand that the Bulls would have beat them.
That's all it is.
I mean,
that is just stop.
Okay. Did we ever see them lose? I mean, I'm just saying.
All right, I really don't want to get in an argument about the '90s Bulls right now, but did we ever see him play a great center in the finals? Did we ever see them?
No, he just beat them on the way to the finals.
I have a great center.
Ewing wasn't great. Was Ewing not great?
Guys, he was very, very good.
He was great.
Okay, that's fine. I'm not trying to argue about the '90s Bulls, guys. I'm not trying to argue about the '90s Bulls.
You just started though.
No, because
all we did was mention them. All we did was mention them.
Okay.
And you went off.
No, if I may, I don't think people discount those Rockets. I think what they do is buttress the legend of Jordan. I don't hear anyone being like, how great is Akeem really? Those 2 championships didn't count.
I agree with that.
I think people just try to pretend Michael would have won 8 because you guys are nuts. But let's stay in the moment. Let's just stay in the moment if we can, rather than argue about the NBA from 30 years ago.
You're bringing it up. You were the one bringing it up.
Yeah, you keep saying I don't want to talk about it, then throwing little shots in there.
Okay,
But
maybe Wildes, I didn't bring it up. You did.
You said we don't. You're talking about the historical context of the champions, and we're bringing up that is incorrect. That people do take shots at the Rockets.
Okay.
If you want me to just sit here quietly and let you do a history lesson that is not necessarily 100% how the whole world views it, I will.
Okay.
Some people do take shots at Durant.
That's what I'm saying.
Not the Warriors,
but not because of
Durant.
the path. It's because of Durant. Correct. The point I was trying to make was I think right now, if you pick right now, does anyone remember what the 04 Pistons road to the title was? No, they remember they beat Shaq and Kobe in the finals. I think if you win the championship, that stuff goes away.
Every championship is valid,
right,
period.
Correct. But to your point, it is also not unfair to the Celtics. It is measuring the Celtics the way we measure all one-off champions if they're a one-off champion. Like, I don't think we look at the Raptors or the Bucks as legendary teams. And it is because of what happened after that.
None of these previous 5 champions.
Correct. The only, to me, like one-off champion that is remembered super fondly is, to a degree, the 2011 Mavs, because they had the opposite path. Because people look at it as some people. Okay, you don't.
I actually think a lot of people take shots at that one.
Okay.
Like my prevailing thought in that finals is LeBron melted down and gave the title to the Mavericks.
Okay, fair enough. But like the 06 Heat, people don't remember that fondly. That's not unfair. That is the ones that we remember fondly, or where it was building something.
Or if it was a one-off, you had legends.
Yes.
Moses Malone in '83 was a 3-time MVP. Dr. J was an MVP and a living legend at that point, and the same thing with those 72 Celtics. I will say this. The history talk, if they view it correctly, these Celtics, all the talk about can they be an all-time great team? Will they be going forward? You better win more if you want to be considered all-time great. That can help them. Because that's motivation. Like, I look at it like the Chiefs. Like, I think the Chiefs, all this talk about the 3P is good for them because it's like we got something to shoot for rather than resting on our laurels of having won 2 championships in a row. And the Celtics can do the same thing. Complacency can hit any team. The Celtics now, we just ran through the league and they don't consider us great. All right, let's get it next year. I think it'll be good for them.
Okay, so let me just make the counter argument. Suppose just because I don't want to put injuries in the air, suppose someone wins the lottery and decides to move to a vineyard in France, and that Celtics team looks totally different next year. Why does the Celtics team that looks totally different next year affect all the statistics that are historically great this year? Because I was like, we can't give credit to this year's team because next year's team, if next year's team doesn't exist.
So again, this is where I do think there is some straw man stuff. I think they're getting credit. I think they
no one says they're one of the greatest teams when I can rattle off 5 statistics that shows you that they're one of the greatest teams of all time.
So here's the question that I have. Here's the question that I have. When we say one of the greatest teams, can we just put a little finer point on it? Are we saying one of the 5? Like, do you think it's unfair that they're not considered one of the 5 best?
No.
Okay. Do you think it's unfair they're not considered one of the 10 best?
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't have them in my top 10, obviously, but I do think if you support them, you could make an argument. You could be like, yeah, I do. Because look at what they've done. So I think you could say.
I think I think their ceiling is probably like 9th or 10th best single season, and their floor is probably 20th, around 20th, because of that stuff. I don't think there are people out there calling them frauds. I think they were underestimated. That is true. I was one of them. I don't think people have been being unfair. And the problem, and this is one of those things I feel, the problem with how gaudy the numbers are is the numbers that you're referring to say they are firmly in the top 5. And even the biggest Celtics defenders don't think that. I don't think that if we called Bill Simmons, he would say this is one of the 4 best Celtics teams. Forget all NBA teams, Celtics teams.
I'll answer your question. If you're in your hypothetical world where, for whatever reason, this team breaks up after this season, I actually do think we might look back at them more fondly.
I agree with that.
You know, it wouldn't be like, because we would never have seen them not win it
Flame
again.
out or whatever,
right. So I do think we would have looked back like, you know what? That team was great. They won 64. They won by 11 again. You know, like, I actually think that, not that they should do that, obviously.
But on that note, let's follow that in the other direction, because nobody's going to retire to a vineyard. Maybe Al Horford retires, but that I don't think is enough to be. Their whole starting 5 is under contract. If this team next year comes back fully whole and gets clocked in round 1, will that at all make you, and I wouldn't anticipate that. I'm not picking that. I'm just doing the opposite.
2 or 3.
Right.
Around 2 or 3.
Would that then be fair to be like, they had a great season, they're deserving champions, banner 18 hangs forever, but they are not, because like the 08 Celtics, which only won 1, what I do think helps them is the next year they looked amazing, KG got hurt, and the year after that, they're in Game 7 of the finals. You know what I mean? With the lead in the fourth.
Had they won another championship, they might be viewed as an all-time
team.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I feel about that. Like, I don't think that's. I don't think if someone retired, it'd be different. I agree with you. But because everyone's going to be back and everyone but Drew is young, there is going to be a bit of.
They just gave him a long contract.
Yeah. I mean, he's definitely going to be back.
Is Derek White have one more year? Or no?
Every single starter is back next year.
All right, Brew, would a sweep impact Luka's legacy?
I'm not trying to couch it, but yes and no. And so yes in the short term, no in the long term. Yes in that I don't think anyone besides J Kidd and me is going to say Luka's the best Mav right now. All right? They're going to, I mean, that's going to be off the
done.
table.
Okay.
Nobody's going to say he's the best player in the world, right? That would have been on the table had they won, period, but had they won in like 5 or 6 games.
He's still in the bronze medal spot.
Yeah.
I think he might be silver medal for some. I think some people have him ahead of Giannis.
I had him ahead of Giannis. I'm willing to entertain Giannis now, but he's second or third, somewhere like that. And also, until next season, at top of mind for people when they think of Luka will be all the complaining and the not playing defense, even if that might be a little overstated. Like all the criticism he got yesterday and will probably continue for at least a while, that's going to be top of mind for people going into next season. All right, so I think that's where this has hurt him. His legacy, no. Shaq was swept in his first finals. LeBron was swept in his first finals. In fact, LeBron, the last 2 sweeps, the teams that get swept in the finals have been LeBron. So it's happened to the best of them. So no, not at all.
So that's actually why I think unfairly it will be used against him. Is because that 07 finals is when people are trying to make the here's why, forget Michael versus LeBron, the folks that argue Kobe over LeBron or other things like that, one of the things they go to is how many times they were swept in the finals. And the 07 finals, to me, there are some corollaries of, in the moment, no one saw this team getting there. Everyone knew when they got there, this guy had carried them. And in the moment, I think LeBron actually less so than Luka right now, LeBron wasn't crushed for that. You know, in those,
he was so young.
He was so young, and it was right. But retroactively, it's used against him more. And so, yes, it will ding him. There's no question it will ding him. And
so you think going for like his legacy? I
think that the folks that want to craft an anti-Luka wherever you have him in the all-time list, a sweep in the finals will be one of the first bullets they fire. And
here's why I was quickly, because you brought up even Kobe and Jordan or in LeBron. Those are still GOAT conversations, or at least, top 3, whatever you want to turn. I don't know that Luka's going to be like, he's not going to be GOAT conversation.
No.
So is it going to hurt him, and is he top 10 of all time?
Yes.
You can say the same thing about Shaq. When you know what I mean?
So
you can
I
talk
guess,
about other guys who had
So
bad
let's just
losses in the
smash cut to 12 years from now when people are trying to say Luka's in the top 10, Steph Curry's out. I just picked Steph because I think he's probably around 10 for a lot of people. Sure. I think getting swept in the finals and the fact that the media mass narrative all of a sudden flipped quickly from Luka carried him there to Luka's the problem.
Yeah.
I think people will remember it and stick in their brains because some of this is like a weird marketing thing, which is it seemed like the story of the playoffs was the West was so brutal and so hard. And this guy beat a Clippers team that I'm not picking on Brew, a lot of people believed in. They were the Clippers were the favorites. The number 1 seed Thunder team, they were the favorites. The Timberwolves team that the whole world was anointing as, oh my God, you know what I mean? They solved Denver, and I thought maybe they had spent their emotional, load, if you will, but I don't think that was Minnesota was the big favorite there, and now it's flipped. And here's where I think it's really unfair. Last year, one of the big stats we saw throughout the finals and after the finals was Nikola Jokic, first player ever to lead the playoffs in points, rebounds, assists. Well, what if I told you, shout out Adam Lefko for reminding me of this, here's what that list looks like now, except Luka added steals, three-pointers, free throws, deflections, and minutes. So, led playoffs in, that's all of NBA history. Jokic was the first to do that. Luka did all of that and added some more, and now all of a sudden, now again, if you're asking me who had the more impressive playoff run, Jokic or Lukic, Jokic, obviously, because his team won. But the coverage in the last 48 hours is not, to me, befitting that.
I'm not trying to be
Go ahead.
a smart aleck, but there's also another graphic. It's like he leads in blow-bys or blow pass or whatever you want to call it.
Yes, and another one that says
more than all that.
He leads his own team in the playoffs and in the finals in defensive rating.
I mean,
despite
does anyone
the
believe that?
Well, I mean, that's not an opinion. It's just what the number is.
I mean, those numbers,
I'm just telling
they
you,
say Jokic is a great defender. You know that. Like, those analytic numbers defensively are a little strange.
I mean, right. It just means.
And I'm not taking away from that stat, but also, obviously, he's played more games. Like, the Celtics didn't play a lot of games in the playoffs. You know what I mean? Because they were beating teams quickly. He's played more games. Those are total numbers.
Yes, but by the way, I mean, Luka's series haven't gone 7.
And
the
conference
6? No, the conference finals went 5. Yeah, and so I don't know that.
But most teams didn't even get to the third round.
No, of course I get that. But but so you brought up the defensive part again. That's again where I think if we want to say that the defensive rating means nothing, that's fine. Sometimes it seems like it means something when we like it and it doesn't when we don't. But we know that the Mavs, plus when he's on the court versus when he's off the court, what that number does mean is their defense gets worse when he's off the court.
I'm not sure about that.
Because I am because of the defensive rating.
No, I believe their defensive numbers, throughout his career, have been better.
I'm talking about in the finals.
Right.
It's a little bit like
in the finals, sure.
When you talk about the marketing around Luka in the narrative,
yeah.
It's a little bit like a political campaign where you can run out all of these statistics on stuff, but if there's certain images out there that just stick, and you're like, that's a bad image. And Luka has several bad images in this campaign of him loafing back, of him sitting and complaining. I think those are going to resonate longer and louder than any of the statistics.
That's why I said it'll be used against him. But I would think in that same light, part of kind of our job is to add a context to it.
But do you think we're going to remember this? Like actually by the numbers, Luka was playing good defense?
No. First of all, I'm not arguing that he's playing good defense. I have not argued that. I have argued that the defense is not the problem, that the Mavs not scoring 100 points is the problem, that the Mavs win the minutes he plays and loses the minutes he don't. I don't think his defense has been good. I am simply arguing that the idea that when the story of this Mavs season is written, your feeling is Luka cost them the finals, not yours, the generic you, you're wrong.
That's ridiculous.
And you're flatly wrong. And if anecdotally you're going to be swayed, like to use your example, a low information voter might by a small clip rather than look at the info, then hopefully folks who watch this show have a little bit more information. That's what I think. That's what I think. And now will it affect the general overall feeling of it? I don't know. I don't know how many viewers we have, but I think people know a little bit more now than they did 20 minutes ago.
We did talk about, too, I was saying going into these finals, he's going to enter next season with a head start as the front runner for the MVP.
You still think he has that?
No. I don't think he's like minus, but I think it's kind of even with him. And I mean, Jokic is going to be hard for him to win another one.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.